Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will be talking about prokaryotic versus eukaryotic cells, the fundamental divide of life. Well, we all know a prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell has a huge difference. A prokaryotic cell is a simple, primitive cell that lacks a true nucleus and membrane-bound organelle, and a eukaryotic on the other hand is a complex cell that contain a true nucleus enclosed by a nuclear membrane and various membrane bound organelles. The very famous example of a prokaryotic is bacteria, and the very famous example of a eukaryotic cell is animal, plant, fungi, and protists. So let's begin with the PPT. Exploring the two major cell types that define all life on Earth, from the tiniest bacteria to the complex multicellular organisms. Yes, this is what a prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell is all about. Moving on to the next slide. In order to understand a prokaryotic and a eukaryotic cell profoundly, we first need to understand what a cell is. We all must know the definition of a cell because in the next coming slides we will be talking about the features of prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. But in order to understand that in a proper manner, we first need to understand what a cell is. A cell is a universal building block. Every living organism, from microscopic bacteria to towering redwood trees, is constructed from cells. These remarkable structures represent the smallest unit of life that can exist independently. Yes, without cell there is no life, because cell is mainly responsible for maintaining life through essential process. It needs energy conversion, waste removal, reproduction, and responsible to environmental changes. Now, coming to the prokaryotic cell. Prokaryotic cell is a simple yet efficient cell. As I said, prokaryotic cell represent life's earliest and most successful design. Despite their apparent simplicity, these cellular powerhouses have thrived for over 3.5 billion years, adapting to virtually every environment on Earth. Streamlined design. A prokaryotic cell has a streamlined design. No internal compartment. It means faster chemical reaction and rapid reproduction rates, allowing quick adaptation to changing conditions. A prokaryotic cell do not have internal compartments, and because of this, the chemical reaction inside a prokaryotic cell happens much faster than a eukaryotic cell, and the reproduction rate also inside a prokaryotic cell is faster than an eukaryotic cell, which allow the prokaryotic cell to quickly adapt to the changing environment or to the changing condition. Now comes the environmental master. It is found in extreme environment, from deep ocean vents to frozen tundra, demonstrating remarkable metabolic versatility. In my previous video, I have explained that microorganisms are present everywhere. They're present in extreme environments, they're present inside us, they're present on us, and also they're present in our daily workspace or whatever household things. But the microorganism which is found in extreme environments like the deep ocean vents or the frozen tundra, these microorganisms is known as prokaryotic cell. Whenever a person or whenever any particular researcher finds any particular microorganism in extreme environments, these microorganisms are prokaryotic cells. Only a prokaryotic cell can easily survive in extreme environments like deep oceans to frozen tundra. Then the next comes genetic efficiency. Compact genome with minimal non-coding DNA ensure rapid protein synthesis and cellular processes. Now let's come to the key prokaryotic features. Many of you know that a prokaryotic cell is famously known for not containing a nucleus. A prokaryotic cell do not contain a nucleus. Genetic material floats freely in the cytoplasm as a nucleoid region, allowing immediate access to DNA for transcription and translation. Next comes the cellular DNA. Single cellular chromosome plus smaller plasmid containing additional genes, often for antibiotic resistance or specialized functions. A prokaryotic cell also contains a 70S ribosome, smaller ribosome that enable rapid protein synthesis, often clustering together for efficient translation for genetic information. Now, how is prokaryotic beneficial for us in our daily lives? How is prokaryotic cell impacting us in our daily lives, and how is the prokaryotic cell contributing in our daily life? Is the prokaryotic cell only available in extreme environments? Let's see. Bacteria, the invisible workforce, gut microbiome aids digestion and immunity. The bacteria which is present in our gut, which is responsible for aiding digestion and enhancing our immunity, is known as prokaryotic cells. These bacteria are prokaryotic, which is present in our gut and is responsible for aiding digestion and improving our immunity. Next comes the nitrogen fixing bacteria, which is responsible for enriching soil for many agriculture process. So the nitrogen fixation bacteria is also a prokaryotic cell. Then comes the fermentation bacteria, which helps in creating yogurt, cheese, and bread. In many industries where cheese, yogurt, and bread is manufactured, the bacteria which they use to create to make yogurt, cheese, and bread, these cells are also prokaryotic. The prokaryotic cells is used in fermentation to produce yogurt, cheese, and bread. The last one is decomposer bacteria recycle organic matter. Then comes the archaea extreme survivors. Methane producing archaea in wetlands and digestive system, heat loving archaea in hot springs and geysers, salt loving archaea in salt flats and green pools. So a bacteria and archaea is a part of prokaryotic cell. Now let's come to the eukaryotic cell. Eukaryotic cell is far much more complex and compartmentalized than prokaryotic cell, because a eukaryotic cell contains a nucleus, and because of nucleus it has many different functions than a prokaryotic cell. So eukaryotic cell represents a revolutionary leap in cellular complexity with specialized compartments called organelles. Since prokaryotic cell do not have compartments. By compartments, we are referring towards organelles. A prokaryotic cell do not have organelles. We will talk about organelles in the coming slides. But right now, let's just go with the definition. These cells can perform multiple functions simultaneously while maintaining precise control over each process. So, energy production. So, the first thing, energy production. Mitochondria generates ATP through cellular respiration. Then endoplasmic reticulum and Golgi apparatus modify proteins. Then waste management is done by lysosome, digests bone and organelles and cellular debris. Then genetic control nucleus regulates gene expression and DNA replication. Now let's define a eukaryotic. The features of eukaryotic cell is nucleus. It has, I said, the major difference between a eukaryotic and prokaryotic cell is the nucleus. Whether you forget any other feature between a prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell, but one of the most important feature to differentiate between a eukaryotic and prokaryotic cell is a nucleus. We all must know that a prokaryotic cell do not contain a nucleus and a eukaryotic cell contains a nucleus. This is one of the major differences between a eukaryotic and a prokaryotic cell. So, membrane bound in nucleus protects DNA and regulates gene expression through nuclear pores that control molecular traffic. Then comes the membrane bound organelles. Specialized compartments like mitochondria, ER, and Golgi apparatus enables complex biochemical process to occur simultaneously. As I said in the previous slide that we will talk about the organelles in the coming slide. So what are organelles? Organelles are specialized compartments. So organelles means mitochondria, ER is endoplasmic reticulum, and Golgi apparatus. Each of these organelles is responsible for certain function, and these organelles are not present in prokaryotic cell. And because of the absence of these organelles, the chemical reaction and the reproduction rates is higher in prokaryotic cell compared to the eukaryotic cell. But a eukaryotic cell is more evolved and more complex than a prokaryotic cell. Linear chromosome. Multiple linear chromosome with histone proteins allow for complex gene regulation and larger genome sizes. Now, additional characteristics of a eukaryotic cell is ATS ribosomes larger than prokaryotic, and eukaryotic cell is larger than prokaryotic cell. It has a cytoskeleton for structural support. It has a sexual reproduction capabilities, and it is a complex cell division. It also goes through the process of mitosis and meiosis. Now, this is these are the famous examples of eukaryotes. Single cell protists. Paramecia, amoebas, and euglena demonstrate cellular complexity in microscopic forms, some capable of photosynthesis or predation. Then comes the fungi. Mushrooms, yeast, and molds break down organic matters and form crucial symbiotic relationship with plant roots. Then comes plants, from tiny mosses to massive sequoias. Plants use chloroplasts to convert sunlight into energy through photosynthesis. Then comes animal, complex multicellular organism with specialized tissue and organ system, from microscopic and tardigrades to blue whales. Yes. Now, these are the examples of eukaryotics. If any of you wants to memorize the example of eukaryotics, it's very simple. Animals, plants, fungi is the best example to memorize regarding the eukaryotes. And for prokaryotes, it is bacteria and archaea. Moving on to the next slide. Side by side comparison. Now, after separately studying about the eukaryotic and prokaryotic cell, now let's compare them side by side. Now let's see the cell size and the feature of eukaryotic and prokaryotic. Now the cell size of eukaryotic is 0.1 to 5.0 micrometer, typically smaller. So this one, the feature of a prokaryotic compared to eukaryotic. A prokaryotic is typically smaller than eukaryotic. Eukaryotic size of an eukaryotic is 10 to 100 nanometer micrometer, which is typically larger. And the size of prokaryotic is 0.1 to 5.0, which is typically smaller than a eukaryotic cell. And prokaryotic cell do not have a membrane bound nucleus, and eukaryotic cell have a membrane bound nucleus present. Then circular chromosomes and plasmids is present in prokaryotic, and linear chromosome with histone is present in eukaryotic. No membrane bonding, and as I said, a prokaryote doesn't contain organelle. Organelles means mitochondria, cytoplasm, Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum, but a eukaryotic does contain specialized organelles. A prokaryotic has 70S ribosomes, whereas eukaryotic has 80S ribosomes. The cell division in prokaryotic takes place by binary fission, whereas an eukaryotic takes place by mitosis and meiosis. Why this matters? Now you all must be wondering, why are we even studying about eukaryotic and prokaryotic? So it is important because it has an evolutionary significance. Understanding prokaryotic and eukaryotic difference reveals life's evolutionary journey from simple beginning to complex multicellular organisms. The endosymbiotic theory explains how eukaryotic cell evolved through prokaryotic partnership, leading to chloroplast and mitochondria. So this was all for today. Thank you so much for watching my video. In the next video, I will be explaining about staining technique and microscopy. Please stay tuned for the next video. Please like and subscribe my channel. Thank you very much.